SJSU students are raging at the school. More on that just ahead.
With the election coming up, some things can get confusing. I'm going to break down a proposition for you in my new segment that's coming up next.
Plus, equal pay is still being fought for, and the disparity seems to be getting worse for some. We'll tell you what's going on.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communications at San Jose State University, your source for what's happening with a fresh perspective on today's issues. You're watching Update News.
Welcome to Update News. I'm Muhammad Najimi.
And I'm Gabriel Evans. Monday marked 1 year since the Israel-Hamas war began. Some students at SJSU are calling for the university's administration to remove support from Israel. Reporter Sophie Cipriano tells us what is happening.
The Week of Rage is a continued effort from student protesters for San Jose State's administration to address their demands. In 2023, students protested the California State University's direct and indirect funding of companies with ties to Israel. Some CSUs have made plans to divest from companies that support Israel. In April, SJSU's Associated Students passed a boycott resolution that called for AS funds to stop contributing to companies such as Dell and HPE that help to supply Israel. Students expressed their disagreement with the way SJSU uses student tuition money in relations to the war.
We're essentially asking SJSU to defund, which is a realistic expectation, as well as using our tuition funds for what they should be used, which is the student needs and not necessarily a genocide across the world.
Update News reached out to administration about university funding of Israel. As we outlined in our May 10th message to campus, an initial review of investments by the Tower Foundation Board indicates no direct holdings of companies identified in the April 29th AS student resolution. Some of the protesters' demands call for SJSU to divest from Israel, to call the war a genocide, and to fire tenured professor Jonathan Roth for the altercation he got in a pro-Palestinian protest in February. When Update News reached out to administration, they declined to comment on matters regarding personnel.
We want to advance what we see as a national struggle, or really an international struggle, especially after 1 year since October 7th. We believe it's important now than ever to continue advocating for Palestine, continue advocating for Lebanon now.
Members of Students for Justice in Palestine say the Week of Rage is not only to protest.
That's not the only reason for the Week of Rage. It's also to foster a sense of community within our SJSU campus, solidarity between different organizations and groups, as well as fundraising for Palestine.
The continuing protest from students intends to put pressure on SJSU's community. The student protesters claim to be unwilling to step down without their demands being met. In San Jose, Sophie Cipriano, Update News.
Let's check out a new weekly segment with our very own Gabriel Evans. Let's talk prop.
Welcome to my new segment, Let's Talk Prop. This week we'll be covering Proposition 2. Prop 2 poses to allow the state to borrow $8.5 billion for schools K-12 and $1.5 billion for community colleges. The funds would be used to construct, renovate, and fix facilities across the state. The proposition made the ballot due to the declining physical condition of many school facilities, leading to worsening academic performance and attendance for students. Proponents of Prop 2 maintain that the funding is crucial to implement key improvements for safety and upgrades such as modern science labs, performing arts facilities, and transitional kindergarten classes. Opponents of Prop 2 say that the state should include school repairs in its regular budget, rather than have taxpayers bear the burden. Other opponents say the issue is that the funds would match the funds raised by school districts, and that the affluent districts would have a much easier time raising those funds than the poor ones. Opponents prefer something that would allocate funds on a more proportional basis, which would make sure that lower-income school districts get their share. How this could affect you. Students in the education system can expect better resources, upgraded facilities, and could lead to a boost in local economics, creating more jobs and internships for construction and building engineering. So, how will you vote? Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next week for Let's Talk Prop.
Thanks, Gabe. You really seem to be on top of that.
I appreciate that, Mo. I think it's really important for students to be educated on the proposition, especially as we have the election coming up soon.
Absolutely. I look forward to hearing what you have to say next week.
We'll see. The Latino Coalition gathered at San Jose State University on the Latino wage gap. They stressed the need for equitable pay and highlight resources. We have reporter Michelle Sanchez live to tell us more.
October 3rd was Latina Equal Pay Day. For Latina women, the wage gap has widened and worsened for the first time in 20 years, according to National Organization for Women. To recognize this, the Latina Coalition of Silicon Valley and San Jose City officials came to SJSU to speak on the wage gap issue in San Jose. Latinas make 44 cents for every dollar a white man earns in California, according to California Budget and Policy Center. Latina women, specifically in the Silicon Valley, make about 33.6 cents on the dollar, according to the HOPE ESL report of 2024. Attendees gathered at the Martin Luther King Library and marched to the Unity Arc to discuss the matter and how personal it can be for them.
It was something that wasn't talked about in our family until I started getting out there in the community. And
the event also consisted of a resource fair to connect organizations and the community members to programs the coalition has set up.
Our Latina Economic Advancement Program, where we talk about workforce development and financial literacy, we really encourage Latinas to become fully informed.
Advocates believe there are multiple ways to bring awareness to the issue.
That bias in our hiring practices in the workplace. We also can do our research and find out what our male counterparts are being paid. We can ask questions.
During the press conference, the SJSU president spoke on how the Career Center brings guidance to students to help them prepare them for this difficult reality.
The Career Center provides mentorship, connecting Latinx students to professionals in the field. We host regular panels focused on achieving equity in the workplace.
The coalition is saying this conversation is just the beginning. They want to ensure the transparency of wages is clear to everyone. You can continue to stay informed by going to the Latina Coalition website. Live in San Jose, Michelle Sanchez, Update News.
More for you when we come back.
The heat wave that had some neighbors concerned. We'll dive into it coming up.
Take your eyes to the sky because some SJSU students are taking off. All that and more just after the break.
Caltrain has left the station and come back with some upgrade. That story just ahead.
San Jose experienced a heat wave last weekend with temperatures reaching up to the high 90s. One unhoused resident from Columbus Park shares how she cools off from the heat. Our reporter Alina Ta has more on the story.
I'm here at Columbus Park in San Jose. It's around 2 p.m. right now and the heat is feeling brutal. As you can see on the weather app, it's around 98 degrees right now. So let's go talk to some of the residents and see how they're handling the heat.
This is Pauline. She is unhoused and has been living at Columbus Park for 7 years. This is how she cools off at the local dog park where the temperature rises to uncomfortable levels.
I'm going to take full advantage right now of this heat and wash some blankets and hang them up and for them to dry and take my dog a bath.
Pauline says she does her best to cool down because she's worried the heat might be too much for her to handle.
I don't have air conditioner, so it's just at night, when it gets hot, or during the daytime, you could pass out,
Advocates say the city needs to do more to help unhoused residents escape the hot sun.
It seems like the city's response to it is just, non-existent. They haven't changed anything as far as how they handle people on the street. They're still sweeping camps, they're still pushing people, out of the shady areas and off into the streets.
The city says they are unable to increase the number of people they house during hot or cold weather seasons because it takes years to build housing.
A storm in the winter or a heat wave in the summer is not addressed by building housing, which again takes years to do. So if we had housing for people, then they would not be outside.
As of right now, advocates and city workers will continue to pass out water at different encampments. In San Jose, Alina Ta, Update News.
San Jose State University and Alaska Air Group have reached a partnership to try to help fix it. Reporter Larry Larkin has the story.
San Jose State University is helping to resolve the pilot shortage in the U.S. aviation industry. SJSU's Aviation Department and Alaska Air Group announced their partnership in early September in an effort to fast-track graduates becoming commercial pilots. Students can apply for the program as sophomores once they receive their private pilot certificates.
If you are accepted into the pilot development program, right up front is a conditional job offer to fly for Horizon Air.
Pilots enrolled will receive a $12,500 stipend. They will have opportunities to get mentoring from a commercial pilot. Pilots can work their way up to flying for Horizon Air and then eventually Alaska Airlines. They can start the 2-year process as soon as they have their commercial pilot certificates and ATP minimums. Professional flight training can cost approximately $100,000 or more for a pilot to get the necessary ratings.
It will allow me to reduce a lot of the stress and financial burden that comes with flight training. It gets pretty stressful trying to manage both school, jobs, flight training, and also finances.
Alaska Airlines' pilot development program helps students financially but also professionally.
It's going to assist the students in the professional flight to continue their studies to become pilots.
San Jose State hopes that this new partnership will assist aviation students to become pilots while making it easier on expenses and time commitment. At San Jose State, Larry Larkin, Update News.
Changes are underway for a popular transportation option in the Bay Area. Reporter Sean Robertson has the story.
This is southbound local train 130, making all stops to San Jose Diridon.
Last month, Caltrain retired their diesel locomotives and replaced them with a new fleet of electric trains.
And the changes go beyond the sleek new look. Improvements such as Wi-Fi, AC, and acceleration greatly improve the customer experience.
Local trains save around 20 minutes of travel time, and bullets save around 10 minutes, despite adding 5 stops.
It's so quiet, it's so smooth, the speed difference is noticeable. It's wonderful. I love every part of it.
The widespread praise begs the question, where are the problems? Surprisingly, they are few and far between.
For the most part, these trains are moving. People are very excited to see them, and we expect the issues we've had to just improve as our crews get more used to both troubleshooting issues and just to the vehicles themselves.
Next month, they will be receiving more train sets, which can be swapped out for maintenance purposes. Caltrain has decreased their youth tickets to $1 one-way and $2 day passes.
We want to build the ridership of tomorrow today, and this is a great way of doing it.
Since the launch of the new trains, Caltrain has seen significantly increased ridership.
The idea that living in America means you have to own a car isn't as true as it used to be.
It could be another quarter century before new trains are designed. Hopefully, these cars stand the test of time. In San Jose, Sean Robertson, Update News.
Activist in Arthur, Angela Davis, visited the SJSU campus as part of the school's Spartan Speaker Series. What did Dr. Davis speak about? And how did this resonate with attendees? I was there at the series and went around to find some answers.
The Spartan Speaker Series is an initiative to bring prominent actors, authors, and activists to campus. They speak about their career and answer audience questions. Students, alumni, and faculty filled the venue to watch. Davis shared her experiences as a key activist in many different communities. Her talk resonated with many students that attended the event.
I feel really seen right now. I feel validated as a student, as a person, just an individual, as a black woman, as a mixed woman, as a queer woman. I feel just really, really seen because everything she said was genuinely what she believed. And everything she said was what I believe too.
Dr. Davis's talk surrounded themes of community when fighting injustice, her time as a Black Panther, and what the next generation of student activists of today can do to continue the fight. Spectators enjoyed her authenticity in speaking about pressing issues that are considered sensitive topics by most.
She did not come here to tell us what we wanted to hear. She came here and said what needed to be said.
She ended on a notion of hope for the younger generation of activists and leaders.
We have to produce the kind of hope that will help to create the longevity that we need in order to liberate the world.
Dr. Angela Davis continues to pursue her work in social justice through her books and teachings at various universities. In San Jose, Gabriel Evans, Update News.
Gabe, we had another real hot one this past week.
No kidding. I'm over it. Let's go to the weather, where Sophie Cipriano lets us know if we're out of the heat in this week's weather.
Hi, I'm Sophie Cipriano, and this is your 7-day forecast. After an intense heat wave last week, we're finally seeing some cooler changes return to the forecast as we enter the fall season weather. Expect some morning low clouds at times and high backs into the 70s and 80s around the Bay Area, and possibly some showers as we approach the weekend. Where last week's forecast was dominated by high pressure, we'll be watching this area of low pressure in the late week that may bring some shower changes. Cooler temperatures are also expected to start the weekend and some clearing and warming towards the end of the 7-day forecast. We see cooler temperatures for Santa Cruz with more clouds than we saw last week. Friday starting at 69 and then at Sunday ending around 73. Similar changes in Oakland with cloudy skies throughout the week, especially going into the weekend, and temperatures mostly in the 70s. San Francisco should keep clear of the 90s for a while with low clouds, and you may have to pull out an umbrella with some possible drizzling in the late night, early morning. San Jose, temperatures will be a bit cooler this week, but still maintaining above average heat in the Bay Area, with Friday starting at 81 and Sunday ending at 81 again. I'm Sophie Cipriano, and that's your weekly update news forecast. Now back to the desk.
Stick around, we have a lot more when we come back.
Tailgating for a Niners game is about to look different for fans. We'll tell you why up next.
Good news. Local libraries just got more affordable. That story after this.
An e-scooter ride is about to look a little different in San Jose. Stay tuned to find out why.
The San Francisco 49ers have recently decided to implement some changes in how their fans can tailgate home games. How does this affect tailgating? And what has been the reaction? Reporter Justin Ray has some answers.
The San Francisco 49ers have made a few changes to their policy regarding tailgating, and 2,000 fans have already signed a petition to reverse them. This policy aims to improve things like cleanliness, safety, and congestion within the lots. A 49ers spokesperson provided a statement regarding their new policy. Safety is our top priority, and while we want to ensure all guests at Levi Stadium are able to enjoy themselves, tailgating guidelines are in place to protect the safety of all guests and staff. One of the most discussed changes to the policy would be the direct parking plan, which causes for parking attendants to direct guests to their parking spots rather than allowing them to decide.
People have had this routine of coming here for years, having they set parking in set areas, so I think it's kind of a bad idea.
This directed parking policy is an attempt to increase the safety of all tailgaters. It limits the amount of vehicles entering and exiting the lanes, getting cars parked faster. The team has had multiple games at their stadium since implementing the policy back in September. One fan who chose not to disclose their name identity claims there's still some gray area in the enforcement.
If they're going to implement a policy, they need the staff to ensure that they enforce what the rules are, and there are a lot of inconsistencies.
This policy also shuts down all tailgating as soon as kickoff begins, and attendants are now providing garbage bags to tailgaters in an attempt to improve lot cleanliness.
Fans are only allowed to tailgate in designated parking lots like these, and many other nearby lots prohibit any tailgating activities. In Santa Clara, Justin Ray, Update News.
The 2024 U.S. Latino GDP report shows that Latinos are behind the fastest growing portion of U.S. GDP. What contributions have the Latino community made to help you increase U.S. GDP? Reporter Isabella Alvarez has more on the story.
The impact that Latinos have had on the U.S. economy has skyrocketed. The U.S. Latino GDP reached $3.7 trillion in 2022. It is at the highest point since first being tracked. U.S. Latina real GDP has increased from 51.1% from 2010 to 2021. With the rise of Latinos earning a college degree, the impact the community has made on the economy would not be as significant.
And I think university and going to a university and getting an education makes it a lot easier for somebody to get out.
The White House Council of Economic Advisors conducted a study regarding Hispanic achievements in the U.S. economy. Data shows that the number of Hispanics graduating high school and completing a four-year college degree has increased by 44% in the past decade. The community has shown a growing commitment to higher education and resulted in increased representation in the professional workforce.
My driving force to go to college has always been my mom because she was also a business major when she was in college, but she unfortunately had to drop out of college to take care and provide for me.
Construction, manufacturers, retail, and agriculture are hard labor jobs that also contribute to economic growth.
So like during COVID-19, right, part of what helped the economy come out of it is the Latino force. The Latino workforce.
The continued growth of the Latino workforce and increasing educational accomplishments lead toward an even stronger economic impact in the future.
The influence that Latinos have on the U.S. economy isn't going to slow down.
The 2024 official LDC U.S. Latino GDP report predicts that the U.S. Latino economy will surpass Germany's by 2027. In San Jose, this is Isabel Alvarez, Update News.
Don't worry about coming back to your local library if you haven't returned your books on time. All your late fees may be gone. Reporter Angela Nguyen has more.
Materials at San Jose Public Libraries will no longer charge patrons late fees according to a City Council meeting on September 10th. The library hopes to encourage more customers to visit their facilities.
The first time in our history that we have gone fines-free completely, not just for children.
The late fee removal is not a financial setback for San Jose Public Libraries, according to Macias. Some wonder if the removal will lead people to rob library materials.
Data that shows that it actually helps people coming back to the library as they feel welcomed.
A 2022 L2 Fines and Free survey supports Macias' statement by stating a quarter increase in Patreons once late fees were waived for Minnesota's public libraries. They celebrated the fine-free kickoff by hosting the wave cheer across all 25 locations. Students who frequent the libraries have thoughts about the late fee removal.
And that late fee is sort of more penalizing than someone that doesn't need to borrow a book because they can afford to buy a book in the first place, right? That kind of ideology.
Hong believes that the removal helps students who are struggling financially. Some students who paid past late fees say that they were reasonable.
But I think it was like less than $2 for like 6 months of holding the book. It was a very, very small amount.
The goal of these libraries is to make education as accessible as possible. Visit www.sjpl.org for more information. Angela Nguyen, Update News.
Electric scooters are emerging as one of the most popular transportation methods. The e-scooters in San Jose are going to be replaced with a whole new line. I went around the city to find out more.
The city of San Jose has two different e-scooter companies, Bird and Lime. In a month, all the current e-scooters will be removed. The city has signed a contract with a different company named Spin. Up to 1,000 Spin e-scooters are planned to be added.
I think it'll have more of a positive impact this time, just because the Birds previously had a bad reputation, and now I feel like this company is going to do a lot better.
Users will download the app on the store, locate a scooter, scan the QR code, wait for the bell, and then they're good to ride. When the ride is over, take a photo of where you parked, and the app will calculate how much you owe depending on how long you rode the scooter. It'll be on a permanent basis, similar to the previous scooters. There will be a $1 unlocking fee, and then 49 cents per minute. This is meant to be an alternate mode of transportation for people rather than taking VTA.
We are not going to have as much bus service as we need, and there are going to be gaps in bus service for the foreseeable future. And e-scooters are one way of filling these gaps.
Pricing for these new Spin scooters are said to be more competitive than the other options San Jose received when deciding which company would be feasible.
There's three things it boils down to, right? You have number one, pricing, number two, device type, number three, distribution, right? And we're trying to maximize all three of those for the consumer, our resident.
Komatani Dittman's main goal was to make sure San Jose received the best deal possible from the scooter operators. He also kept in mind whether it was in line with the city's broader multimodal transportation goals. San Jose signed a one-year contract containing an additional year option.
The regulations for the new scooters will be the same. A driver's license is required, use the bike lanes whenever possible, and yield to people walking on the sidewalks or crossing the streets. The new Spin scooters will be rolled out in November. Stay safe on the streets.
And that does it for this week's edition of Update News.
For all of us here, thanks for joining us, and see you next week, and check us out on all our socials at SJSU Update News.